I just hate that tackle, but it's tackling techniques now and the jiu-jitsu and the wrestling where they get in tight. When Lockie Galvin left, there was uproar. But then the other way around, when the player rissoles, when the club rissoles the player, nothing. And I just find that, I wouldn't say hypocritical, but I just find it puzzling and humorous.
Welcome back to another week of Immortal Behaviour. Thanks to Tab. A pleasure to have your company at home and yours, Andrew
Good
Johns.
to be here.
We survived Magic Round.
Well, I behaved.
Did you?
Yeah, Friday night I did. Had a few Saturday night, but I was in bed pretty early, unlike Brad Fittler.
How good he was telling me yesterday or the day before that he started boogieing.
Oh, he's the
started
best.
Dancing.
He's the best.
I'm
Mount
filthy,
Druitt
I had to
Freddie.
leave.
I haven't seen Mount Druitt Freddie for a long time, but he was out.
Thank goodness he's back, even if it is just in a sprinkling. Let's get on to the talking points from the last week in Rugby League, the Roosters. Very recently, there's a couple of big roster moves that have just been announced. Dom Young has been given immediate release, and then the other one, obviously, Brandon Smith, he's getting led off to South Sydney Rabbitohs, effective immediately.
There's a bit of argy-bargy with Brandon, isn't there?
I think so.
They don't want to pay this amount or something anyway. You know what I find a little bit, I wouldn't say hypocritical, but humorous. When Lockie Galvin left, there was uproar. But then the other way around, when the player rissoles, when the club rissoles the player, nothing.
Nothing.
And I just find that, I wouldn't say hypocritical, but I just find it puzzling and humorous. Anyway.
Fascinating.
Moving forward.
So Dom Young, do you think it was a mistake that he left Newcastle in the first place?
No, I don't think so. I think he wanted to challenge himself in a big club.
Because it wasn't about money, was it, with Dom Young? It was
apparently
a similar
well,
offering?
I really don't know. Once again, it's all hearsay. But he's been poor this year, Dominic. Defensively, he's really struggled. Although when he was defending, he was on that right side. He was outside Robert Toyer, who now's kicked right on. Start of the year, he was struggling a bit, and also Chad Townsend on that side. And it was a real target for opposition's teams. So there are sort of, mitigating circumstances with Dominic there. But there's been some errors. He's down on confidence. And I think also the emergence of Mark Nawanga-Nisawase.
Close.
Close?
Nawanga-Nisawase.
Marky.
That was a pretty good nudge.
I actually see him down the beach all the time. He just giggles.
bloke.
He says, just have a crack. Anyway, the emergence of Marky Mark and Daniel Tupou signed for another year.
Yeah.
So I don't know what's coming through. They've got some great juniors coming through, whether there's wingers. So he gets pushed out.
Do you think that he'll head back to Newcastle or
I think he'll head back for sure. I'm just trying to think.
Are you happy about that?
Yeah, for sure. I think he gets his confidence back. Another reason, look, the way the Roosters play, they don't have Teddy coming around on those sweep plays and playing to Dominic. Newcastle do. They have Kalen coming around, playing to his right, and he was playing to Dominic. That year, was it last year they went on that run? I get confused.
2 years ago, I think
2 years
it might have
ago?
been, yeah.
Raiders final.
The Raiders final, when he was going down the eastern side and the whole crowd was up. That was some of the best scenes I've seen. So I think running off Kalen helps. Maybe the style of play didn't suit him that much at the Roosters, but it's a double-edged sword. He wasn't great. He's been struggling this year.
And what about Brandon Smith? Do you think his move to the Bunnies will bring out his best footy?
Wayne Bennett. If anyone can coach larrikins and players who sail close to the wind, it's Wayne Bennett. I think there'll be that trust between coach and player and coach. I think they'll get the best out of Brandon. I don't think he's an out-and-out dummy half. I think he can play a bit of dummy half, but he's a running middle forward. So, moving forward, I hope Brendan, kicks on like he did at Melbourne, because he's such a great fella. He's such a good guy.
To be fair as well, South Sydney at the moment, the position that they're in, Camp Murray, the middle, like they could really do with him in the middle, right?
Could.
Like obviously a lot of the conversation around Brandon Smith is Roosters are looking not terrible, like that they could push for a position and you want your best players there at the end. But on the other side of things, South Sydney, what he can do to spark up the middle of the field for South Sydney, that's massive.
Ellis is out for 6 weeks with an elbow, so hopefully he gets done. I think they're squabbling over, 40, 50 grand, which is just like loose change to clubs. So come on, get it sorted.
All right, big news in the crusher tackle world. Jacob Preston, he got dealt 4 weeks after they tried to challenge it, the Bulldogs. How do you see that?
Look, I thought it was a crusher.
Yeah.
I'm going against... I just hate that tackle, but it's tackling techniques now and the jiu-jitsu and the wrestling where they get in tight, where we didn't see that years ago. But also, the attacker has to take blame too, because once again they hit and they turn. Why they turn is because they're spooked from that third man in, coming in at the knees, which we've seen players. Liam Knight, the one that happened to Liam Knight years ago was criminal how bad it was. So, we didn't outlaw that spearing in tackle quick enough. So that's been a habit, and once they get those habits in a game, it's hard to change them. Tino has a habit of doing that, so he put himself a little bit in that situation. But the way his head sort of whiplashed, it's an awful look. And look, it wasn't 4 weeks. There was loading and
there were carryovers, which affected him. But I thought it was a crusher. And I don't know. You can't get it out of the game. That was my next question.
You
How
can't,
do we?
because it's the tackling techniques. It's the wrestling and the jiu-jitsu, and it's such a fine line. But I got a theory about the third man. The third man, and it's the techniques. Everyone does it. They get them and they hold them up, and they wait for held, and the player comes in and takes the legs and they get them down gently. If a player is tackled by 2 players and his momentum is stopped, there's no more. There should not be allowed a third player to come in diving at the knees.
So you want almost an early held call?
If someone comes off the back fence like a Spencer, 3-4 guys rip in there. But once they do a hit up and there's 2 players take control and there's no more momentum, the third person shouldn't come in. So what happens then is the tackling technique will have to change, because if he's still got a bit of movement, 2 of the players up there will have to go to the legs, which then gets an offload, which creates ad-lib footy. But yeah, I hate that third man in. I hate it. I hate the crushers. I hate the wrestling. Except for WWF, when Randy the Macho Man Savage, they were the great years.
Oh, how good.
Yep.
Many thought that Preston was in the conversation for Origin. Did you?
No, not this year.
Well, he's got a fair few ahead of him.
I think without doubt. Well, off the top of my head, there's Angus Crichton, Liam Martin, Hudson Young, Olakawatu. So, no, not this year. Years to come, without a shadow of a doubt. I think even he's got the personality to captain New South Wales.
Yeah, I was going to say his leadership qualities as well as his footy ability.
I've heard Gus talk about his leadership, and look, he's one of those tough, really, tough competes, but one of those honest players, honest guys that just doesn't let you down. So he'll be there. He'll be there for sure in years to come. But
wait your time.
Not this year.
We've got a very happy teammate at the moment.
Which one?
James Bracey.
Oh, yes.
The Bears are officially being announced as the next NRL team.
Yeah.
I gave him a bit of stick actually, because he
Those teeth
posted
got
something
longer
on his Instagram story, and he does less than you on Instagram. He doesn't do anything, and he put it up, and he was hot on the reply.
He's
anyway,
in Perth, isn't he? Is he over there?
Yeah.
Number one
He's
ticket
probably
holder.
lining up his next job, to be honest.
Yeah.
He probably wants to be running that board.
I'd imagine for Bears fans, this would just be incredible, because if it's not your club, you're not emotionally attached. I'd imagine if my Knights, for whatever reason, were out of the comp, for them to come back, I'd be in tears. So, yeah, it's good. They got. I understand they got a big pool over there. They got of players playing. They got a ready-made fan base here. They'll play 1 or 2 games just up the road here at North Sydney Oval. So, hopefully they kick on and they go well.
A lot of history in that club. Let's put it together.
They haven't won a comp for 80 years. Is that right?
80 years.
80 odd years. Wow.
It's wild. Who would you have coaching?
Brad Arthur.
You would?
Yeah, there's talk of
Sam
Sammy
Burgess,
Burgess.
yeah?
I think they need to go for an experienced coach. I think Brad.
Because obviously to get your player signings and the club well established, you need your coach nailed, and you need the general manager, the head of football. Yeah. So you'd go Brad Arthur. What about that general manager role? Like the Gus Gould of the Bears? Who's
I think Peter Parr. Peter Parr's got an affiliation with WA. He was there at the Western Reds. I think he played local league in Newcastle for South Newcastle. Then he went over and played in Perth. So Yeah, Peter Parr, I think, would be the ideal one.
Alrighty.
But I don't want him to leave Newcastle.
Yeah, I was going to say, that means you're at a loss for that decision.
So no Parry.
So don't listen to Joey on that one, please. All right, it's time for our big call of the week, thanks to Tab. Joey, a few good games this weekend. What do you have?
The Raiders are my XXX morals of the week.
How good
Down
are they?
there, they just won't get beat.
It's cold there too. I was there on Saturday. It's freezing. It happened very quickly.
It's the 3 o'clock game on Saturday. So I don't think it'll be a sellout because of that. Kids sport and people doing whatever. They'll get a huge crowd, but it won't be a sellout. Well, it might be a sellout. And I like the Cowboys up there against Penrith.
Yeah.
Penrith, look, they were unbelievable last week, but they get Toto back, and there's another one.
They also get Sorensen, is that right?
Sorensen in. So they're getting troops back.
Well, they've got a lot of their grand final team coming back now.
But I just think the Cowboys are fine.
It is sold out. We've just heard
sold
from
out.
Legendary producer Muzz, sold out at Canberra. It is a massive game.
Yeah.
Huge game. And the Cows only went down by 4 points to the Warriors, so you think their response will be huge?
For sure. I think the Cowboys will win up there, but the Raiders, lock them in, XXX.
Who are you loving the most out of the Cows at the moment? Tommy Dearden?
Yeah, it's good to see Nene back. He's been playing really. Scott Drinkwater's a great player. He plays like he's in the backyard. He's got, once again, the touch footy background. Kids go out and play touch footy. But Tommy Dearden, he's really elevated himself. Jeez, he's tough.
Isn't he ever?
So
That's what
tough.
I love about him.
Yeah.
Yeah, so good. Now, you said on Freddie
and Purdue.
Purdue.
I'm looking forward to watching his
Did
career.
I hear someone throw him out? Was it Freddie that threw his name out there for Origin?
Yeah, not this year. No.
But he is a weapon.
He'll be a 5'8" in years to come, for sure. Running 5'8".
Love it.
Good player.
Stay tuned. Speaking of Origin and Freddie in the 8th, you put out there that you'd love to see Turbo, Tom Trbojevic wearing the number
Fullback,
1 jersey, fullback.
I asked Billy
What does he
Slater.
bring? Yeah, go.
I asked Billy Slater on the Sunday Footy Show, fully fit. So this is, once again, hypothetical.
Correct.
Turbo has to be 100%, not 80%, not even 90%. It has to be 100%. Yeah. But we know it's a gamble with Turbo. I asked Billy Slater, fully fit, where would he rank in fullbacks? He said there's none better. And I said, well, obviously, Billy, you're the greatest ever. And he's a humble guy, Bill, but he's probably put Turbo number 2 behind him, which is saying something, which the second best fullback of all time, he's never played fullback for our state.
It's wild, isn't it?
Why
would you put him over Dylan Edwards? Obviously, the other name coming into the picture is Teddy at the moment. Why would you pick Turbo at fullback?
Well, our edges have so much strike. On the left side, we'll have Angus and either Latrell or Bradman, those two. And on the right, we've got Liam and maybe Stephen Crichton or Turbo, depending.
Turbo. But
Dylan Edwards and
Teddy
are real support players, all energy around the ruck, which Turbo is too. Turbo's a big body, he can bring the ball back stronger, but also Turbo's he's got a better pass than them two, which brings those outside players into play. Game 2 last year in Melbourne, I know New South Wales got a lot of penalties in field position, but Moses played laterally, quickly to Luai, who got the ball to our left edge. They couldn't stop Angus, and they couldn't stop Latrell. Brian Toto he was licking his lips. So we have to bring them into play. So I think if they're going to play that Penrith style of attack, if they pick Yo and Nathan, and it'll be that style, then Turbo provides the ball to pass on an edge.
I was going to say that. So a couple of weeks ago, you drew out, if you were creating and writing the attack play for New South Wales, this is what you'd want to see.
Yeah.
Obviously, assuming that Nathan Cleary wears that 7 jersey, you'd love to have him hit those 2 support players and play off the back of that. You think slotting Turbo into fullback, we can still do that. Even if you do have your Luai and your Nathan, you think he's the link that can really play a little bit flatter.
Work to the right-hand side of the field, open the field to the left side. Also on that side, Cherry Evans, his defensive movements can be very inconsistent. If you have a look at that game last year, and over the years that there is space in and around Cherry because of his defensive sort of movements. Simple. Get it Munster, open the field up. Pew. Remember when Bradman debuted? 2 tries.
Weapon.
Work to the right, opened up the left-hand side of the field. You got Bradman or Latrell there. You just get them one-on-one, and no one can stop them. They're a weapon. And Angus is like a Clydesdale, wrestling ponies.
True. Nathan had an absolute blinder on
Yeah.
the weekend. How does Turbo complement his game? And also, what did you see from his game on the weekend that just makes you excited about Origin?
Well, Nathan's always that cool, calm, ice cold, in control.
Yeah.
I saw another side to him. He ran the ball a few times and got whacked. I think Tony got him straight to his feet. But the other play was he kicked early and he led the chase and whacked Selwyn. I was like, I haven't seen that before.
Bit of mongrel.
I haven't seen that from Nathan. And then
He's always been a solid defender, and he's
it
always...
was like, just felt like it was like, give me
Let's
the
go.
ball, get on the back of me. He was running the ball more and he had that extra mongrel in him.
How good.
So once again, I've been saying this year, it's the next evolution of Nathan Cleary's game, where he's playing with younger players who probably can't sustain that grinding style. So he just stood up on the weekend and just went, "You get with me. I'm leading you in every played physical, played tough, competed, ran the ball at the right times. It was a 10 out of 10. It was so good to watch."
He rarely does anything wrong, but Nathan Cleary, friend of the show, bring back that mongrel.
Has he been on the show before? No.
You'd have to ask Danica.
Future Immortal Behaviour.
Yeah, I'm sure he listens every week.
Yeah.
No doubt about it. On the Queensland side of things,
Yeah.
obviously we're still staying in the theme of Origin. What scares you the most about their potential lineup?
Their spine,
Yeah.
Kalen, Munster, DCE, and Harry Grant. Kalen scares the absolute bejesus out of me. Every time he gets the ball in Origin, honestly, I'm holding my breath. And look, Kalen hasn't been at his absolute superstar best this year. Obviously, in a team who has missed go forward. Jacob Preston back last week added so much, and Kalen was out of this world. But get to Origin level, far out. Him and Munster and Harry Grant playing together.
And off their pack too.
Oh, their pack's just... Tino's back. Nene's in good form. It's just so good. Origin is just... It's amazing. It's amazing.
How good that we're nearly there too.
Actually, the women's game's on.
Yeah.
So get out. I don't know how many tickets they've sold, but we constantly talk about supporting the women's game, and I've been quite vocal. We need people to watch on TV and turn up and buy merchandise. And if you want that to happen, mums, grandmas, sisters, aunties, blah, 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 get out and go to Allianz and let's pack it out. And that way, percentage of revenue, we can get the NRLW full-time professional. The standard is here. The other night, that was an amazing game to watch. Obviously, I was really invested in Jess Southwell watching her. But once it goes professional, wow. The product is so good, and it is pure footy. It's none of that wrestling garbage, and they just
No
get out
sin
there and
bins.
no sin bins, no penalties. Look,
No
Belinda Sharp,
penalties.
she let it go.
She did.
She missed
She
a
did a
couple
great-
of calls, but she let the game flow. So it'll be a great performance. Is this Thursday?
Yeah,
No,
it's
next Thursday.
Thursday week.
Yeah.
So we're 8 sleeps away. So game 2 is at Allianz. If you want to get tickets, which we hope you all do, head to nrl.com/tickets.
Oh, is that what /?
//
I heard people say that. I don't know what it means.
You know what? It's the first time I've actually had to read that and say it out loud, so I'm glad I didn't completely stuff it up. But get your tickets,
/
come. If the game's anything like it was game 1, it'll be through the roof.
We
and
got
you
over
won't
a
be there to
million
see it.
viewers, didn't it?
2 million.
2 million?
2 million. Highest rating rugby league game on Channel 9 this year. It doubled the views, or more than doubled the views of anyone watching the AFL. Huge, through the roof. Good footy. First game of footy they've played all year, so you'd have to think that game 2... doing even
Have
better.
Queensland made any changes? Or they?
They've just made one. They've brought in Chelsea Leonard-Doozy, who's a bit of a bully in the middle. She's got a great offloading game, which I think is the call that they needed to
Yeah,
make.
okay.
Their middle got fairly decimated, but otherwise their spine, everything else is...
I love leading
very
into
similar.
game 1. I was like, oh, there's only one kicker, Jess Southwell.
Yeah, nailed it.
Penatani doesn't kick. You don't need to. You got someone who can
it.
kick like that. She was good to see.
And they didn't put enough pressure on her either.
Anyway,
Great
yeah,
stuff.
get out and watch it. We need a full house.
We certainly do. Now, we're in the NRL, round 10. We've got through a fair bit of footy already. Obviously, there's some coaches in the firing line, under the pump a little bit with how their teams are going. Who do you think's at the top of the list for the coaches that are under a little bit of heat?
Well, Des at the moment.
Yeah.
Des Hasler at the Titans. But once again, the coaches, they get sacked and nothing happens to the players. Des, what he did at Manly, several premierships, then he went to the Bulldogs and got them to one grand final, or had them right up. I know they went to one grand final. And so he's gone up there. Des can coach. Just for some reason can't get it going. And similar to my Knights, there's no stability in the key positions. They've chopped and changed their halves and their spine, in particular halfback, 5'8", fullback. Jaden Campbell is an instinctive player, but he's not a natural 7. So they're hamstrung there. Young Weaver got knocked out. I understand they got a young guy called Zane Harrison, who the raps are huge, but
he's only
he's
a kid,
baby.
isn't he?
He's 18.
18.
And you can't put him in yet. So he's probably 18 months away, 2 years.
It's not there's not one player that needs to fix that solution either. You don't just change one half and everything's going to come together.
But you see some teams, they struggle for consistency week to week. The Titans struggle for consistency set to set.
Yeah.
Some sets I watch and I'm going, wow, what about this? And then the next set, they drop 2 simple balls. They're a frustrating team. Like on the weekend against the Bulldogs, I think it was 6 tries to 5. They couldn't kick a goal. They kicked 1 from 5. Stephen Crichton kicked 6 from 6. But there was passages of play there. They looked so dangerous, but they just can't find any consistency, which isn't the coach. Des can coach. And if Des goes, I don't know who they're going to put in there.
Do you think it's mental? Because you look at their
No, it's the
team list,
roster.
yeah.
It's their roster. They haven't got that one player who is just constantly barking. And once again, it's
Leadership.
in the spine, whether it's a half or 5'8", who is just barking and screaming at his forwards and just constantly. Like the perfect example is David Fafita. If he had a junkyard dog screaming at him all the time, he'd be a different player. But for whatever reason, they cannot find that stability and that out and out true number 7, which if they're going to bank on Zane Harrison, give Des a couple of years and wait for him to come through. And Kieran.
Yeah.
Well, Kieran, they missed Kieran. Kieran's the one, obviously. I forgot about Kieran.
Yeah.
And he's back. He's
Yeah,
back
I think
soon.
he is coming back soon. Are there any other
Stability.
coaches that are in the hot seat? And if there are, who are some of the coaches maybe that we've got here in Australia, over from the UK, that might be ready to
I don't think any
rejoin
other
the NRL
coach. I think there was a bit of noise around Adam O'Brien at Newcastle, but he's got some forwards back, and they look different. I think they'll go on a run now, the Knights. The coaches overseas, Willie Peters is doing an amazing job at Hull KR. They're leading the competition. Really good guy, Willie. He was at the Knights actually, helping out there. So whether he's ready to go or not, or whether he needs another year or 2 experience, but I'd love to see Willie get a start. Sam Burgess, obviously the other one. But that's about it off the top of my head.
Do you think Freddie would ever coach NRL again?
No. Just getting back to the Reds.
Because you don't want him to, or you don't think he would?
No, Freddie. Now manager at Freddie's back here. Getting back to Perth, one I forgot about is general manager of Rugby League, someone like Brian Smith.
Yeah.
Who Brian was. He gets knocked, Brian, because he never won a comp. But you have a look at the teams. The early 90s, you got that St George team to back-to-back grand finals compared to Brisbane. Nowhere near the players. And then you got Parramatta there and he's at other clubs. He's a great educator. And I think Brian Smith, in some capacity there, would be really good. I actually tossed his name up to the referees.
Did you?
Come in there and to be in the bunker. Because he understands defensive movements and the obstruction. Anyway, don't get me in the bunker.
So
Yeah.
No traction there. Great. That might just about do us.
Different coaches? No. We're brushing that.
Oh, yeah. Let's talk about that.
Different coaches.
So who are some of your favourite coaches?
Well, Origin level, Gus and Ricky Stewart.
Oh.
But 6 weeks was enough.
Who did you get the biggest spray off? Which coach gave you
Gus.
the biggest spray?
Gus gave me the biggest
Well, that's
spray.
probably one person.
But
I
it was warranted. But if we were together all year, I think we would have killed each other. But I love Gus for 6 weeks and I love Ricky for 6 weeks. Warren Ryan, when he came to Newcastle, just opened my eyes, and
Really?
still opened my eyes when I talked to him about the way the game should be played.
Still?
And
So you still speak to him all the
Still,
time?
we have lunch all the time.
Yeah.
And his philosophies in which he coached still stand up today. So Warren Ryan, he's a Newcastle guy. When they started in '88, they wanted to get Warren, but he just won a comp at the Bulldogs, maybe in the mid 80s. But he said, no, look, I can't do it. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to put Alan McMahon, who he coached at Newtown, I'm going to put a guy called David Waite in. David Waite did all the junior pathways and educated us up so well. Ended up coaching me, David Waite. He was a great educator. But that's on the back of Warren Ryan's philosophies. Mick Hagan was someone I enjoyed being coached by because he gave us the freedom just to play. There was no restrictions, and we played a great style of play. Wayne Bennett was good to play under.
With a smirk.
Yeah. Well, he just treated people like men.
Yeah.
He treated us like boys. I remember first night in camp, we get in a room, myself and Lockie and might have been Danny Badeiras, or there's a couple of senior players. Two and playing the Kiwis, how are you going to play? I said, we'll do this, we'll do this. Okay, tomorrow on the team meeting, sort of talk to him about that and I'll come in. And then we left, he goes, hey Joey, just stay behind. So, here we go, what have I done? So I'm just in that 10 seconds.
Yeah.
Anyway, he goes, mate, I know you like to have a beer, but we're in camp. I think we're in camp for 7 or 8 days. He goes, if you want to have a beer, you go for a beer, but there's a couple of rules. Rule is, you don't take any of the young guys with you. And the second one is, it doesn't affect your training. And if you do that, then you can do it. So I didn't take the piss, Well, literally, I didn't take the piss.
You did take it, but it worked.
I didn't stay out till 6 in the morning.
There are people that can handle it.
I stayed out till
people that
5:30.
can't. Great.
No, you know what? We're staying in Bondi. So I'd met up with mates over the pub and had half a dozen beers and go home.
That's another level of respect, though, isn't
Respect, yeah. And because he gave me that freedom, I gave him the respect back. So Wayne was great to be coached under. And that was early 2000s maybe. And then I had him in the late 90s. That's sort of all the years. And we had about a month camp, played in New Zealand a few times. That was fun. Cool. Really fun.
I'm fascinated to know what you loved most about Gus's coaching.
Gus is just... tactically, he was just sensational, and he really challenged me all the time. And then I talked to him.
Put it back on you.
Back on me, but then we'd be talking back and forth about how we're going to play. But the genius of Gus, he would have a theme of the camp, and one year was about the draft and going to war and the courage and the knock on the door that's saying you got to go to war. So anyway, it's the connection between rugby league and war, but it's miles apart. Anyway, he kept talking about there's a knock on the door. It's your duty. You've got to do this. So anyway, he kept harping on it, and then anyway, game night, and then in those days there wasn't the siren that you had to go out. There was a 2-minute knock on the door. So we're all ready to go, and next thing, touch judge knocked and go, come on. You're out there in 2 minutes, and he went, there's a knock on the door. You're on. Now you're on. It's your duty. You can do it for your state. I still get hairs on the back of my neck standing up. And that's just one example. He's too good. The way he would intertwine a theme, and then the theme, we'd think, what's the madness behind this? And then game day, the connection would be there, and you just go, he knows his stuff.
There's intent behind everything that man does, isn't there?
Yeah. Well, he's a genius. I think if you look at someone's impact on rugby league, look, Gus was a really good footy player. He was very smart. Great coach, Origin level, New South Wales greatest. Won a comp at the Bulldogs first year. Came an administrator, what he did with Penrith, and now the administrator, what he's doing at the Bulldogs. He's probably, without doubt, one of the most influential people in rugby league, and we get to work with him, so we're very lucky. Very lucky, and it all kicks off tonight too. So enjoy your footy this weekend. Thank you so much for joining us on Immortal Behaviour. How good, Joey? We'll get Nathan on. All right, take care everyone.